So what's the one reason most patients are not being approved by the Mississippi Department of Health? That's what we'll discuss today on MCPATV.
There are a few mistakes that we are seeing pretty regularly. So one of the first things it asks for is your driver's license state, or state ID, whichever one you have, which of course is going to be Mississippi for most of our patients who are going to be resident. The next field is asking for the number associated with that ID. What we're seeing a lot is some people accidentally are putting in the word Mississippi or MS instead of entering that number.
Gotcha.
That is an error that, again, we'd have to return the application for.
Yes.
That's a big thing we're seeing pretty commonly. So pay mind to that. I would just encourage people, read those fields really closely. If you have a question, definitely call us before submitting. Just to make sure to say, hey, am I reading this right?
Yeah. And Callie, something that when I was looking through Austin's application with him as and learning that, it has to be a DMV issued ID.
Yes.
I automatically thought, it's just a driver's license, but they do issue an ID that is not necessarily for drivers.
Yes.
So, if we have, potentially a child who can't drive, or an elderly patient who doesn't drive any longer, they still need to have a DMV issued ID, not necessarily a driver's license. But those numbers are real important to put into your system.
One of the things that we just want to make sure patients are aware of, when they put in their permanent address on that application, that does need to match the proof of residency they will then submit later on in the application. So that's a big thing. We have to cross-reference that. Again, that's just another way of verifying we are doing this for Mississippi patients. And while we're on the subject of proof of residency, there's a couple of types of documents that I'm seeing regularly submitted that unfortunately don't quite make the cut.
Okay. Share that with us.
So a good example is a mortgage. Okay. The regulations do stipulate that a patient can submit an ownership, lease, or rental document. What that's talking about is a deed or a lease. Not so much a mortgage statement, because that's not quite proof of ownership. So that's one we're seeing regularly that we're not able to accept. Same thing as internet bills, cable bills, phone bills. We're not able to accept those. What we need is a utility bill, gas, water, electricity, with that address that you put earlier in the application, with your name on it, and from the last 6 months, ideally.
Yes.
That would be the best thing possible, or at the very minimum within the calendar year. We can, of course, also accept a vehicle registration, not vehicle title. That's another one we get a lot. So it does have to be that annual registration you get. The way I always describe it to people is the thing that comes with the sticker.
Yes.
The thing that comes with the sticker. And so we are able to accept that as well. But yeah, I would say definitely the vehicle title and then the mortgage are two of the documents we're getting pretty often that we're not able to accept. Also, a voter registration card. We're not able to accept that as well. And really part of that is because those don't have expiration dates. When you buy a car, you buy a car. We can't tell if you bought it 10 years ago or if you're actually living in Mississippi, if you bought it for a cousin who lives here.
Correct.
Things of that nature. So we're not only using that to verify address and residency, we're also using it to verify currency of that address. So that's a big one we're seeing. By far and large, the number one issue that I have to unfortunately turn around apps for is the digital photo.
Yes.
So the way that we describe it in our regulations, and this is all on the pre-application checklist. Again, strongly encourage everyone to read it.
Yes, please do. Go to that pre-application checklist.
So it has to be a passport style photo. And what that means, it has to be taken against a solid white or off-white background with, from the top of your head, top of your shoulders, neutral expression or smile, looking at the camera, no filters, no hats, no sunglasses. Ideally, no glasses if it's gonna create a big glare. Now, if you're a normal glasses wearer and you feel like you can take a picture without it blocking your eyes, that is perfectly fine. But that passport style photo. And when in doubt, reach out, send it to us in an email, ask it if it's okay. We'll tell you. We'll let you know, because the last thing we want is to discourage anybody or potentially put someone at risk for not getting approved because we're having to constantly turn around that application. So if y'all want to check something ahead of time to see if it's appropriate, email it.
Yeah.
We'll check it out for you.
And, and I've heard many patients say how responsive you are at the Department of Health in, getting back information so that, they'll know if that, say if it's that ID or that photo, if it's okay or not. And so, potentially, one thing that I see is that some people want to do a selfie photo, and I think it would be probably pretty hard to get that just the way it needs to be. And so I know I've had a few patients to do that, and they were rejected. And so probably, the best thing, and I've seen that some of the practitioners' offices actually have put a white screen up behind the patient, and they're taking the photos. And, and I think that's wonderful that they're making the process a little bit easier. But another thing is they could go to, like Walgreens or CVS and have that passport style photo taken for minimal cost. And so, that would help a lot too. And so I would say if you're out and about, just run by there and get that done if you're a practitioner or somebody's not doing it. But are you seeing that many of the selfies are cutting it?
Not really. It's really hard to capture that appropriate range. It also can potentially shift that focus. Like I said, it needs to be taken eye level. That's a big part. And so if you're taking that selfie, it's harder. It's also a lot more tempting. I don't know about you, but when I take a selfie, I want to filter it immediately. But if somebody else is taking it for me, maybe I'm a lot less likely, especially a doctor's office or something like that. Another important thing I wanted to mention is why we're getting these pictures. These are the pictures that are going to be printed on your ID.
Okay.
You'll carry that thing everywhere.
Yes, indeed.
You'll have to present it often. And so because of that, we have to make sure it can appropriately identify you. Yes. And you will carry it and present it next to your driver's license or ID card in dispensaries, out in public, whatever, things like that. So it is really important that's why we're getting that picture. It's not just for, our own joy. Also, another thing I have seen that unfortunately is disqualifying is people taking a picture of a picture to upload. This does have to be an original live photo taken for the purposes of the application. So that's to ensure, your most recent look, as well as accuracy, appropriateness. I could take a picture of anybody's picture and submit it, That's right. So this is another way to verify patient identity appropriately.
Yeah, that photo is really important because it is used for your ID, and that will, like Callie said, be used at the dispensaries, but also just say, for instance, you go through a roadblock. Well, the law enforcement officer can verify, that you are indeed a patient because they can look at your driver's license and you and your medical ID card and be able to say, okay, you legitimately, can have this in transit to your home where you can use it safely. And so, it's just really important to have a current photo that meets the regulation guidelines so that, it'll make that process easier. Now, Callie, by law, the Mississippi Department of Health, how long do you have to process a patient application, and then if it is rejected because of an error, how much longer of a time frame do you have with that? Okay,
so 60 days from the time the practitioner certifies you, or issues that certification rather, the clock starts counting down. In that 60 days, we absolutely have to have a correct, complete application. And so let's say you submitted on the 1st of the month. Within 30 days of that, we absolutely will have it processed. Right now, our processing time, we're within about, I think we're caught up to about 20 to 22 days. Having applications processed.
That's not very long at all.
No, we're working on it. We're trying to get the wheels turning a little quicker. And so with that, let's say, just theoretically, it took that 30 days. And on day 30, I return your application to you because there was an error with your digital photo. Let's just go with that. And then when you send it back to me, let's say 2-3 days later, still didn't quite edit it because we do get it several times people would just hit that resubmit button without making changes. And when I do send you and I return it to you for action, you'll get an email letting you know, and it will spell out to the T what needs to be corrected, what regulation to reference, where to go to the website, how to contact us. So we don't want anybody struggling when they get that return for action, just panic, you know what I mean? That's definitely not the goal. We try to put ample information in there. and send them straight to that regulation so that they can see, like, for example, the digital photo one, it lines out A, B, C, D, E, F, G, exactly what needs to happen to get that photo right. Yes. Let's say you don't read the regs and you just send it back. You and I really like that selfie.
Yeah.
And so then I go to process it again within 31 days. Well, you're now on day 62 of your certification.
Oh, goodness.
And your picture's still not right.
Yeah.
So I send it back to you. Unfortunately, this time, you can't submit it back. That 60-day window has expired, and at this point, you'll have to see your practitioner again for a new certification. Yeah. So that is all the more reason it is so important to get it in there and get it in there right.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely encourage our patients to make sure that you read through the rules and regs and how to apply, and to look at that photo information, or just hit this video again.
Yeah.
And, it is very, very important, because you do only have a 60-day window to, after you've been certified, to get that application correct and into the Department of Health. And so the submission time, there is definitely a clock that's ticking. Yes. And so you want to get it right, and and don't be afraid, because Callie is one of the most kind and sweet and brilliant ladies that I've ever met, and she is here to help you, to help our patients in Mississippi, to make sure that this process goes well and that you do get your card. And that has never been the intention. Never a conversation or a word has been said that the Department of Health would hinder that process. No. They are there to help you. And, and if there's anything that the Mississippi Cannabis Patients Alliance can do to help, that's what we're all here working together to make sure that this process goes smoothly for our patients. Thank you, Callie, and thank you to our viewers for joining MCPATV. For more information about the Mississippi Cannabis Patients Alliance, go to our website, follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and be sure to share this informative video with your friends and family. Thanks again for tuning in to MCPA TV.